Join From Beer to the Bible every week as Ervin Lee and co-host Sarah Oliveira-McDonald warn others of the consequences of drug and alcohol addiction by being the voice of faith-based recovery. Every week, Ervin and Sarah help people get access to the treatment and counseling they so desperately need. They explore the depths of addiction and give practical life examples of how to recover and develop a new rhythm of living. The show is gritty, authentic, and simply raw while being rooted in the love, faith, and hope of God. Welcome to From Beer to the Bible.
Super excited today. This is Ervin Lee with From Beer to the Bible. I am blessed to have, guess who with me today? Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, co-host Sarah McDonald here with Ervin today, and we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. And I don't know if he knows this or not, but the nickname that I have heard for you, Rick, and that I call you is Mr. Recovery. So we have, right now, I'm announcing it. This is his nickname, Mr. Recovery. Rick, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Rick Hubbard, and I am Executive Vice President of Professional Relations for Sarah Mental Health.
Well, Rick, really, in all honesty, I want to say thank you for all you have done, all you are doing, because you have helped so many people. Although this is our first time meeting, I actually feel like I've met you because I've met so many people that you have helped. And one is like a sister to me, so near and dear to my heart, been with me for a long time, right, through the ups and downs, and that's Sarah. But before we get into the story of how you guys know each other, Sarah, start with a scripture, please.
All right. Today's scripture comes from Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 5:17, which is near and dear to my heart and helped me through my recovery and sobriety. It says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone and the new is here." It's so special to me because in recovery, the process of renewal is so important. We have renewed hope spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it's the cornerstone of hope that, reminds us that through Christ, our past no longer defines us. And that story that was given to us is so true to me because my past is gone and I was made new in Christ through recovery, through a new beginning. And this man, Rick Hubbard, is the one who got me there. And so we're super excited to have Rick here today. We're going to share a little bit about his story, my story, and how he has become Mr. Recovery.
That's right. So, Rick, take us and share your testimony and tell us how you ended up where you are today and in the vocation that you practice.
Okay. So I'm going to start at the beginning, which was a long time ago. I was born in 1955.
Oh, okay.
So when somebody says 19 and something, you know they're really old. But I was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, youngest of five. And, grew up in a neighborhood that was, by today's standards, it was a poor neighborhood. We didn't know we were poor, but it was a poor neighborhood. I followed the lead of my brothers. My brothers were my mentors, and they were my guide. My oldest brother is 12 years older. Mm-hmm. The one closest to me is 5 years older. So I grew up rather fast, rather quickly. Kind of missed early childhood to some extent. But life dealt me some significant challenges that I didn't at the time realize the significance of those challenges. But later in life, as I learned more about human behavior, I began to understand why I did a lot of things that I did.
Let me ask a question. Did you have mom and dad? And
yes,
dad
absolutely. Great parents. I love the memories of my childhood. Mm-hmm. Of course, as a child, there are things that happened in a household that you're not fully aware of, or maybe the brain has a way of suppressing those memories. But, I don't remember having a bad childhood. My dad was a hard worker. He worked for the largest newspaper in town. My mother was a nurse's aide and worked for prominent physicians in town. She taught me to read and to do math before I ever got to first grade. Okay. When I got to first grade, actually everybody else was a little behind for me. Yeah. But, you know, I was raised in a very loving, caring, nurturing environment. Now, that environment did not go without challenges, but for me, it was a perfect childhood. At a time when, I mean, we're talking about the 1950s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a long time ago, but it really was not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I'll share something with you to kind of illustrate why I don't think it was that long ago. So my father was born in 1918. Mm-hmm. His father was born in 1882, my grandfather. Yeah. My grandfather lived with us in the final years of his life.
Okay.
Or we lived with him in his house. His father was born in 1852. That's 13 years before the Emancipation Proclamation.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it is safe to assume that my grandfather's father was born a slave.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, you can see from a generational point of view that it was not really that long ago.
Yeah.
And my recollection of my grandfather is very vivid. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're talking about a distant relative. And that's when I refer to my great-grandfather, I don't use that term. Mm-hmm. I use my grandfather's father because most people remember their grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So when you say my grandfather's father, it kind of shortens the gap. Mm-hmm. And you don't see it as being such a long, long time ago. And here's what's significant about that. You know, our society at the time was evolving. Mm-hmm. As it relates to, socioeconomic issues, race relations. And my first year in middle school was the second year that schools were integrated in my hometown, Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah. And so we had a choice. My parents decided we had a choice to go to the all-black school or the integrated school. Mm-hmm. They wanted me to go to the integrated school. All of my brothers had gone to the segregated school. Yeah. And they felt that I would have a better opportunity in life if I went to that school. And truthfully, I believe that from some perspectives, certainly an academic perspective and certain social perspectives, it did serve me well. Yeah. But there are many other perspectives that I have as when I look at others who made a different choice, because there was only a small group of kids that went to that school, like maybe 40 in my neighborhood that went to that middle school. Okay. And, when I look back on their journeys in life, I can see a pattern, drug use, criminality, mental health challenges. Mm-hmm. Now that I understand better what was happening in their lives and in my life, I can see where the community aspect that happens in school was lacking for us in ways that it didn't for the kids that went to the segregated school. Yeah. And so I think that's important for this discussion to provide some context regarding behavior and how people get to where they are in life. Yeah. And it has taught me to not judge the other person's perspective, to try to look at life through the lens of the other person. Yeah. And it helps me to be more compassionate and more understanding about why people do what they do.
Absolutely. And now, as you look back on your mother and father, did they suffer any addiction or mental health issues?
They did. So truthfully, my parents drank rather heavily. And, I know my brothers will not like this if they hear it, but the truth is my mother, working for physicians in a clinic, had access to medications in the 50s and 60s that pharmaceutical reps freely dispensed to the staff of physicians and their employees. And so as a teenager, I had access to all the medications she had access to. In addition to that, I had access to her, what I call instruction manual. It's a physician's desk reference, a PDR. And so I not only had access to the medications, but I had access to the instruction manual. And so I was
I did not even know what a PDR was
I was
when I was that age.
well, and for those who don't know what a PDR is, it's like an encyclopedia for pharmaceuticals, and so with pictures.
Oh, wow.
So if you happen across a pill, and you didn't know what it was, you could cross-reference that in this encyclopedia, and it would give you all the details about not only in identifying what it is, but the use of that medication and how it interacts with other medications, which being, weekend scientist like I was, I would use that PDR to kind of figure out ways to change how I felt.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that there was an underlying need for me to change the way I felt.
How old were you when?
I was a teenager. I was 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And were you actively involved in drugs and alcohol at that point?
My first exposure to drugs was marijuana. Let me take that back. It was alcohol, actually. When one of my brothers, during a Christmas weekend, tried to help me alleviate some of my anxiety about being in a Christmas play, a pageant, where I was going to be one of the three wise men.
Oh.
And he said, "Well, here, drink this."
Oh, there
And
it
it was some peppermint schnapps.
Okay.
And I never made it to the play.
Oh, wow.
So they had to do with two wise men that day.
Well, the story just doesn't hit the same then.
Yeah, without the three.
And so my mother was livid, and man, I tell you, she dealt with him.
Yeah.
But I laugh about that today because I didn't see it as being that big of an issue or problematic then, but it kind of opened the door to the concept that I could find a chemical solution to what I later discovered to be a spiritual problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I pursued relief on a regular basis to help me deal with this overwhelming sense of fear and doom and anxiety that I was constantly faced with, especially when I went to that middle school.
Yeah.
Because I had grown up around mostly Black kids and Black families. I had some exposure to the outside world through my father's work. I would go with him from time to time to work. I would go to my mother's clinic from time to time. But when you look at it, just strictly social influences, my world was fairly contained. And so going to that school in an environment where I was so different, because these kids were equally as isolated from Black people as I was from white people.
Yeah.
And then when you combine that with the tension and the heightened anxiety and anger associated with integration at the time, when you look at it from a socio-political perspective, it was a very, very difficult time to be a teenage male, Black male.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult time. I didn't see it at the time as being such, because, I was able to adapt. I was a good athlete. The coach for the middle school football team came down to our neighborhood and recruited players, and I did well academically. Because so you remember, I told you my mother taught me well.
Yeah.
And my mother had a 9th grade education, one of the most intelligent people I've ever met to this day. And, but, I was able to adapt, but there was always this underlying sense of fear and anxiety that I covered up with humor.
Yeah.
And achieving things.
Oh, absolutely.
Because-
Became an overachiever.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that. In your 20s and 30s, you became very, very successful. And let's just talk about that and how it led to where it led to.
Yeah. So at a very early age, so this would have been 1976. I was 21 at the time. Yeah. I was 21 at the time. I went to work for a bank, the largest bank in downtown Fort Worth. I worked there from 1976 to 1984. I left to go to work for another financial institution, and then I went back until 1989. But I did very well in that business. I was able to, first of all, I had a very firm grasp of finance and an understanding of our economic system, because I became a student of what I thought was the most powerful aspect of our society, which was the economy. And I learned very well from the people that I was assimilating with that if I could do that, then I could achieve a level of influence and power that would otherwise escape me. And so the people at that bank noticed very early on that there was something maybe a little different and a little special about me and my talent. And so I was on a real fast track at that bank, and did very well. In 1983, my daughter Lauren was born, and life was looking very, very good for us. Her mom was able to not have to go to work, so she was a stay-at-home mom. We had a house by 1980. Well, we built our first house in 1981. And I was 26.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. My brother Don, who I adore, is my hero. Vietnam veteran, great guy, great Christian man. But Don was a home builder and he was a finance guy, and I kind of took his lead on how to structure a solid foundation in my family life and in my financial life. And Don built us a house in 1981 in a neighborhood where things like that just didn't happen for people like me. And so Lauren coming into my life really changed my perspective on what my responsibilities were, because prior to Lauren being born, even though we were working and enjoying life, my wife and I, I was doing a lot of partying. So that business that I was in came along with a lot of socializing and a lot of partying. And I never really stopped using things to change the way I feel. But those things changed over time. They went from being the pharmaceuticals, when I can no longer get my hands on those, and to something else. It was always something. Alcohol, marijuana, opioids at one point, and so, but I was able to function still at a really high level in spite of that.
When did you know you were in trouble?
That's a very good question. That's a good question. I did not see that my behavior was problematic until I had really achieved a relatively higher level of success, and that was in the 90s. By 1994, 95, I was operating my own mortgage banking operation. I was financing a lot of homes for individuals building and buying homes from home builders. I had relationships with some of the largest home builders today in the world. At the time, they were the largest home builders around here, but some of the largest home builders and developers in the country were my customers, and so I'd done very well with that. But what appeared to be a lot of external and material success was being compromised by my internal, emotional, psychological, and spiritual condition, because it was deteriorating out of fear and anxiety for some of those same challenges that I had from when I was very young. I never got real help for that. And that
Caught up with you.
It did, and it had a lot to do with not really believing that I deserved what was happening for me, or that I would be able to maintain That fear of losing what you have and not getting what you want was just constant. I still struggle with that from time to time, but I have the means by which I can treat that condition today.
Absolutely.
I didn't then, which makes me so passionate about the work that I do.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you this, because you're at the pinnacle of success, and now I'm in trouble. And in our culture, it is not always seen as go to treatment, go to counseling. It's more seen of you need more faith, you need to pray. How did you find the courage to raise your hand and say,
Or who found it for you?
yeah, how did that?
That's another excellent question. So during this time, when I knew I was in trouble, I was also very active in church. And I was a regular attendee of my church. Actually, it was a neighborhood church that I grew up in.
Okay.
And it was the church that my mother was very active in. I was living two lives, and that duplicitous nature of how I was living kept me in a constant state of spiritual conflict. Because I knew that the things that I was doing were wrong. I was not only harming myself, but I was harming people that loved me. Many times they did not even know they were being harmed, or that the harm was being caused by my behavior, because I was very good at hiding those things. It became really apparent and obvious when this thing became so burdensome that I could no longer hide it, and the covers were pulled off. I had had this dream for years of being in a public place and discovering that I was naked. And what I didn't know then was that it was a metaphor for what was going to happen in my life, because all the covering that I had done, all of a sudden was gone, and I was naked. And so
that goes all the way back to Adam and Eve.
It does. And so there was a very humiliating fall from grace that I experienced that broke the hearts of those who love me. My mother, my brothers, my wife, my daughter. Lauren had gone to private schools for most of her life. We had moved into a house on a golf course with a lake in the back and a country club membership. And so that all came crashing down like overnight. And I think in many ways, the pain and the trauma from that experience still lingers with my daughter and my now ex-wife, who has suffered in ways that I never intended for her to suffer. But then, the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I never intended to hurt anybody. But that is one of my few regrets today, that I harmed people that I didn't want to harm, and that I did things that I didn't want to do.
Let's stay there for a minute, because one of the things that most of us in recovery struggle with is I had this notion of I'm only hurting me, and I didn't realize, man, when I opened my eyes, like just so much collateral damage, and of which some with my wife now that I'm still kind of working my way through the process of trying to restore, rebuild, and recover from all that collateral damage. So talk a little bit more about that, because I think it'll help our people.
Yeah, so, I became a student of the 12-step process. I'm a believer in 12-step methodology. I think it is a path to a spiritual life that, for me and for people like me, that is, that many of us find difficult through other paths.
100%.
Because I was raised in church, and the God of my understanding then was a God of punishment and condemnation. And so what I found through this 12-step process was that I'm not bad guy trying to get good. I'm a sick guy trying to get well.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. So you go to treatment, and then you get out. So tell us what did recovery really look like for you, and what's your life like now? And then I'm gonna hit you with, and tell us how you and Sarah came to be.
Yeah. So, I mentioned that, I had the covers pulled off, and it was apparent that I needed help, and that I couldn't, through my own effort, help myself. I had always thought that, whatever problem that I was faced with, that I had the power and the ability to solve it myself.
Yeah.
I was kind of raised that way. And so I was forced to get help.
Yeah.
I was, I didn't just voluntarily get help.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found myself homeless. My wife had to, raise Lauren on her own, and she was sick of how I was behaving. And I'm grateful that she made the decision to extricate herself from that environment and take Lauren out of that environment, because I was on a downward spiral that seemed endless. And here's this teenage child that has to be raised. And so she took her and started to take care of her by herself. And she made it very clear to me that she was not going down that path with me. And so I had nowhere else to go other than to my mother's house. And so at 46 years old, I find myself, after, achieving some things in life, including having my mother come to work for me and help me in my business after my dad died. Now I'm back at her house.
Yep.
She's having to take care of me like she did when I was an infant,
Yep.
because I couldn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
I found myself wandering the streets of the neighborhood that I grew up in, and like a zombie in the middle of the night. And one day she said, "Hey, I love you, but you're gonna have to leave. You're gonna have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I found some help for you, and you can accept that help and go get help, or you can leave, but you cannot live here doing what you're doing." So I was angry at her at the time. I'm thinking, I'm a grown man. Why you don't get to talk to me that way.
Yeah.
And
But you're acting like a 12-year-old.
well, I was living with my mommy, and so. But I'm grateful for that. It's the most compassionate thing that I believe a person can do for somebody that they love, is to interrupt that cycle. So I went out to Abilene to a place called Serenity House, and as I was leaving, a friend of my mother's came to pick me up to take me there. It's a 2-hour drive. And I remember her looking up at me. She was like 4'11", and I'm not the tallest guy, but she was looking up, and she said, "Hey, I need you to go and do this thing, and don't come back here until you get this right."
Yeah.
And that's how she raised her sons.
Yeah.
With a really firm hand. My dad was a great guy, but my mother, she set expectations, and when she did, you knew that she meant business.
Yeah.
And so I hear those words today. It's been almost 25 years.
And what did treatment do for you? What did you find in that 30-day stay in treatment?
I was there for about 42 days. And actually that last time, so I'd gone to Serenity House like a year earlier with no intention of getting sober. None whatsoever. I was just trying to get a heat off my back. I had been involved in some financial misdeeds, and had been charged with some financial crimes. And the judge said, "Hey, we're going to give you deferred adjudication if you get this thing right. You're going to be on probation for 5 years. You get it right, he goes away." So that didn't take. It was not adequate for me. So I went back and started doing the same old things.
Yeah.
So it was a year later that I went back. And I refer to that many times as my first time in treatment.
Yeah.
Because that first time, I was not in treatment.
Yeah.
I didn't go there
Emotions.
because I saw the light. I went there because I felt the heat.
Yeah.
And so, what I discovered in treatment that second time was that, there were things going on with me that needed to be addressed from an emotional and psychological perspective. That I'd been exposed to things in the world around me that had created, some psychological challenges that needed to be addressed therapeutically, like the trauma of being in that environment, in that school, where I knew there were some people that hated me just because of the way I looked, not because of how I behave or who I am as a human being, but just how I look. And we were, several of us were exposed to some violence just because of that. And we look back on it. I look back on it now, and I see just how problematic that was. But at the time, I didn't really understand just how that would affect me later on in life.
Yeah. Well, and Rick, let me say this. Man, you listening to you is just like watching a documentary, right? And we're running low on time, so we're going to have you back because there's so much more to share with your impact on Sarah's life, which impacts my life. And at the end of the show, we always say, take us home and say whatever the Lord has burdened your heart to say to those who are suffering from drug and alcohol addiction.
So, and I'm sorry we ran so long. I tell you, the story started a long time ago.
No, this is good. I just actually want to be back there as a spectator listening to you. So we're going to do a part 2. So y'all stay tuned. I promise you.
So let me say this. At 46 years old, I thought that my life was over. I thought that, after accomplishing some of the things that I'd accomplished and then losing all of that, including my family and my home, my dignity and my respect, that my life was over. And there were times when I did not want to live, and I literally did not want to live. But I can tell you that it has been the greatest gift in my life to have suffered through that, come through it, find a way out, and now I get a chance, by God's grace, to help others, climb out of that hole. God didn't pull me up out of that hole, literally out of a hole, because I was digging ditches in Abilene after I got sober. That was my job. I was a pretty good ditch digger. But God did not pull me up out of that for me to be a big shot or to be, full of myself. God pulled me up out of that so that I could pull somebody else up out of that. And if you feel like there's no way out, I can promise you there is. If you feel like there's no way to recover what was lost, I can assure you there is, and much, much more than you could ever imagine. I was told that very early on. I didn't believe it. My life is a living testament to there's so much more waiting for you on the other side.
Okay. Well, you guys join us. Please tune in and look for part 2 of Sarah, Ervin, and Mr. Recovery, Rick Hubbard himself. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you real soon. God bless you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's From Beer to the Bible. Make sure to tune in next week when Ervin and Sarah gift you with even more addiction recovery information. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember, we're always there for you.